But whenever we found out just the other day that DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers in the game, it's not like he's like a top 10 receiver. It's like this guy is in the conversation of who the best wide receiver in football is. Now you can't pick which one wide receiver is the best wide receiver in football because you can't. Not all of them have the same quarterback throwing the ball to them. And if you're in a position where you can only be an impact when somebody else chooses to get you the ball or how they get you the ball, it's hard to say this person is the outright best wide receiver in the game. But Nuke would be a part of those conversations no matter how it's happening. This guy just made plays that you're not supposed to make. His hands are the size of catcher's mitts. I mean, he goes up there and gets it. And then the story comes out about his mom and everything last year. And you're like, man, this is a dude that is a dude. This is a guy that you want on your team. Then the videos from training camp when he was on Hard Knocks and he talked to D'Angelo Hall, and he was like, D'Angelo?
Yeah.
D'Angelo Hall was like patting him on his shoulder when he was on the Redskins and Nuke was on the Texans and he was patting him on the shoulder. He's like, hey, trying to like teach him. And DeAndre Hopkins was like, don't you and me on the same level. You are not teaching me things, okay? I don't care if you're older than me. This is not how this is going to go. And then he
ACL.
tore his ACL on the
Achilles,
next round. Yeah, his Achilles or his ACL on the next round. Like DeAndre Hopkins is a guy who's competitive. It feels like he always shows up and makes big plays. So whenever you hear that the Texans are trading him away for a second-round pick in a running back who hasn't been the same for a couple of years, it was very interesting. And then the immediate thought of everybody in here because of having a little bit of an inside look at the way the NFL is run because humans are involved in this thing. There had to be a personal beef is what everybody said. But nothing had been leaked out. Nothing had come out until this morning when Michael Irvin was on Get Up, who, by the way, shout out to Greeny and the Get Up team, still putting on a show. They got people FaceTiming in from their rooms, which we will judge in everybody's little backdrop here within the next hour and a half or so. But they're still doing a show, which I appreciate because they're entertaining the masses during times that need it. But they had an interview with Michael Irvin this morning calling us from what might have been the basement of a YMCA or a church. And this is what he had to say about DeAndre Hopkins and Billy O'Brien.
I couldn't rest my mind on it. I called him again 24 hours later, like late yesterday, and then he was willing to talk more. And I said, tell me what happened in Houston. And he went into it. He told me, he said, Michael, it was a bit of a power struggle there because Coach O'Brien thought he had too much influence over the locker room. He called DeAndre Hopkins in a meeting to talk about this and to kind of, hash it out. In that meeting, he started the meeting with telling DeAndre Hopkins this. That blew my mind when DeAndre told me this. He told DeAndre Hopkins, he said, hey, the last time I had to have a meeting like this, it was with Aaron Hernandez. I was like, what? He put in Aaron Hernandez in this meeting? He said, yes, he did. He said, Michael, that blew my mind that he would even bring that up. I've never been in any trouble. I don't know why would he equate me with Aaron Hernandez. And from there, the meeting just deteriorated. He got into talking about DeAndre Hopkins because DeAndre Hopkins has a few kids and from different women. And he said, he told DeAndre he doesn't like that he has his baby mamas around sometimes. And from that, I think the relationship just went bad. And thus, we got a trade of DeAndre Hopkins from Houston for basically.
I couldn't take that guy breathing. Whoever recorded that, we thank you for putting that video up. But I was going crazy. I almost, if you're listening there, nobody in this office was breathing into their microphone like that. I don't know. That almost felt worse than listening to that, than the Reaper Pepper's going to feel. I couldn't take that guy breathing directly into that thing. But the things that were being said there from Michael Irvin that he was told from DeAndre Hopkins, by the way, no clue if DeAndre Hopkins wanted that information to be released. We'll be excited to see if there's a rebuttal from either side there about this, because this is pretty bomb dropping, right? This is, okay, so now we know exactly why DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best players in the game, was shifted out of Houston for a second-round pick and David Johnson. And there was 2 exchanged fourth picks. Those are basically the same thing. So I think the thing that gets forgotten, and I talk about this in many different occasions, some players are not going to play their best every single day because it's not a video game, right? Not every player is a 99 every single day. Like their rating is a 96, 97, or a 76 or a 77. Some days that 76, 77 might show up at 98. And some days that 98 might show up at a 76 because in real life you have emotions, you have feelings, you have egos, you have pride. And there's always a situation potentially brewing whenever you have a lot of bravado, a lot of egos, and a lot of success where people can butt heads. It feels as if I've been in a situation like this. The general manager that I worked for at the end of my career did not like me. It was very obvious. And to be honest, I hated going into work to perform in those situations. The fact that DeAndre Hopkins definitely did not get along with Billy O'Brien, right? The fact he's telling Michael Irvin this story to begin with is already a sign that he does not love Bill O'Brien. And obviously, Bill O'Brien traded one of the best wide receivers in the game for a second-round pick. He does not love DeAndre Hopkins. These are things that definitely happen more often than people could imagine. People said it happened between Belichick and Tom. People said that it happened between Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger. Emotions are real, especially at a very high level. So I'm happy for DeAndre Hopkins to get to a place where it seems like he's going to enjoy. I would assume if Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim are going, to bring him into the roster, that's a place that's going to embrace him. That's a place that's going to like his leadership. They're going to like him bringing his family around, which is a wild take for Bill O'Brien to say he doesn't like his baby mamas around. Would you rather his baby mamas weren't around? He was a bad dad and didn't get along. Would that drama be better? I mean, there's just a couple of things there. We have to assume that maybe there is a middle lying ground here between the truth and what was told. But I'm happy for both of them if this is going to clear it up. But for DeAndre Hopkins, even more so that he's going to get a chance to go to and thrive and hopefully be liked, because that's obviously going to feel better for him each day to get out there.
There's been an update to the DeAndre Hopkins situation.
Here we go.
He just tweeted out, "This is being blown way out of proportion. As I've said before, I enjoyed and am proud of my time with the Texans. I have the utmost respect for Coach O'Brien, and that will not change. Now I'm ready to play for the Cardinals."
Okay, so as we said whenever we were reading Michael Irvin's or listening to Michael Irvin's statement from Get Up this morning, there was no way DeAndre Hopkins wanted that message to get out. He would have done it himself. Michael Irvin, I assume, was trying to stick up for DeAndre Hopkins. And in turn, because there's no live sports and nothing else happened, a full firestorm happened. As soon as Michael Irvin said this on Get Up, we watch Get Up every morning, by the way. Mike Greenberg is getting a chance to work there and watch him work, and the people behind the scenes and everything. It's a good show. They are a good show, and we watch it every single morning. As soon as Michael Irvin said that from that FaceTime wherever he was, we literally stopped. I stopped. I was like, "What did Michael Irvin just say?" And then Connor screamed over top of it while Michael Irvin was saying it again. So we had to rewind and watch it again. And as soon as I heard it through, I was like, "Oh, this is the story. This is what we're talking about today. This is going to be it." I knew it was going to be a big deal because anytime you have this elite level player being treated in a manner that you don't think an elite level player should be treated, and you hear about stories happening like this, and especially now that it's come out, Benjamin Albright just tweeted that a cornerback who's a free agent who could potentially be a target of the Texans has decided that he will not go to the Texans because of what he's heard about Coach Bill O'Brien from former Texans defenders, right? So Bill O'Brien now, his name is getting into an interesting spot right now with this DeAndre Hopkins thing. And by the way, DeAndre Hopkins answering this is doing Bill O'Brien a massive favor, because DeAndre Hopkins could have said, to hell with it, this guy just traded me for a second rounder. He thinks I'm worth a second rounder. But instead of him coming out, sticking up for Bill O'Brien is good. I'm still not certain that's going to sway people from wanting to sign with the Texans as opposed to going elsewhere.